Ambovombe, in the district of Androy, in the south of Madagascar, more than 700 kilometers from the capital Antananarivo. It is in this zone, one of the three most disadvantaged regions of the country and affected by the drought in 2016, that a joint visit of the members of the government, the United Nations system, and the government of Japan was held recently. The visit took place as part of the follow-up of the joint project developed by 8 agencies of the United Nations system and financed by the government of Japan for $2 million over 18 months to sustainably get the region out of vulnerability. 5 intervention sectors were targeted, namely agriculture, sanitation, early recovery, displacement monitoring and health. Interventions to allow a transition from emergency humanitarian aid to development aid, a will expressed by the President of the Malagasy Republic during the celebration of the International Youth Day held for the first time at Ambovombe.
Merci à votre équipe pour les appuis et les supports.
We thank your team for the support and the assistance that they bring to this region, and especially for the country. You are very active in the social and economic field, and we hope that what you bring can be further developed, not only in the southern part of Madagascar, but in any country. You have seen today, you are witnessing the will of this population to develop, to stay out of poverty. You have seen the vigor, the ardor of this Malagasy youth who wants to take in hand its destiny and the future of the development of the country. Thank you again, and we know that this is not the last. It is only the beginning of a great mission that we will accomplish together.
The district of Androy is one of the areas of concentration of the humanitarian activities because of the low indicators of development and the priority of health issues and population. Here, the poverty rate varies between 80 and 97%. 1 out of 2 teenagers is pregnant or already a mother, and the 12% hospital-assisted delivery rate is among the lowest in the country. Added to this are climatic and environmental problems that make cyclical crisis. It is in this context that the government of Japan, with the technical support of the United Nations system, finances development projects in the region.
Bien que le Japon est le premier bailleur de fonds donateur.
Although Japan is the largest donor in terms of official development assistance in Madagascar, our presence here in the south is rather weak, so we must depend on the structure of the United Nations. The problems caused by this great drought have been multifaceted. First, it is necessary to protect the mother and the children, who are particularly weakened by the drought, and it was also the supply of drinking water for the households as well as the populations. It was the rehabilitation of the road which is to be used as an access to convey equipment and help to the population. The United Nations system is the only entity that can design an emergency plan and then carry out all these projects. This joint project is the third we are doing with the United Nations. Currently, the situation in the south has seen an overall improvement. The climate in some parts of the south is not always favorable, and this creates problems. So with the United Nations, we are identifying the needs that still exist in the south.
Having come here today to see how, with the support of UN, the UNFPA, WHO, UNICEF, and all our partners, we've been able to ensure that women can get access to good maternal health care in terms of delivering safely, in terms of being able to have a full birth that is safe and that they can actually plan their families. It's really exciting to see. It's really exciting to see. And the quality of care that's being delivered, I think, by the staff and particularly the doctors here, it's really good to see. And I'm really glad that I've had this opportunity. One of the things that we have seen is the obstetric fistula wards and how many women have been repaired. Again, in this society, for every 1 woman that dies, 30 will have a complication. and that complication will include obstetric fistula. So what we must look at is how we prevent this from happening by giving quality maternal services. Women have to come to facilities to deliver, and that's what this team is doing here with the support of the UN system, but also particularly UNFPA, which is the agency that ensures sexual and reproductive health and rights for all, and particularly for young people.
Present in Madagascar since 1978, the UNFPA, the United Nations Population Fund, is currently implementing its 7th program of cooperation with the government of Madagascar. A program whose objectives are strengthen national capacities to provide quality maternal health services, including humanitarian emergencies, to strengthen national capacities to increase the demand on the supply of modern contraceptive methods, and improve the quality of family planning services.
Well, we want them to continue to invest. We want them to invest in sexual and reproductive health. We want them to invest in women's health. But most important, because Africa is a youthful population, we have many young people, and it's important that the assets, our human capital, which is our young people, really must be invested in. And so one of the things we promote is that governments should put that investment in educating young people, in ensuring particularly young girls are kept in school. We want them to ensure that they are healthy and have access to health care that is quality in nature. We want them to be empowered both economically but with skills that can ensure that they contribute to the development of this country. So really our message to our governments is really to invest in Africa's demographic dividend so that this can ensure that the economies of our countries grow.
Nous avons également et ça, tout le mérite revient au gouvernement malgache.
We have also been able, and for that all the credit goes to the Malagasy government, to its deputies and parliamentarians. We've been able to put in place a very ambitious law on reproductive health and family planning. This law is being operationalized and accompanied by the tripling of the budget on family planning. Even if this budget remains modest, Madagascar has this ambition, and our role is to encourage this country to reach these objectives of family planning in Horizon 2020. Although we are at 33% 2 years ago, and today we are at 39%. And there are challenges to achieving the 50% agreed in Horizon 2020.
Il y a des défis pour atteindre les 50% convenus à l'horizon 2020. Mais nous sommes confiants avec la détermination.
But we are confident with the determinations of the Malagasy authorities, the Minister of Health, that these vain efforts will intensify. All this will enable us to better understand the youth agenda, the national roadmap of the demographic dividend, and through the census that has been done by UNFPA with important partners such as the World Bank, the European Union, USAID, we'll finally be able to have a map of the youth of Madagascar, of course including the general map of the population needs, because it is a census of the habitat, but we will have reliable data that will allow us to better focus on the areas of intervention.
Qui vont nous permettre de mieux axer nos zones d'intervention.
In Ambovombe, the interventions of the UNFPA, funded by Japan, have allowed the extension of the CHRR maternity, the regional reference hospital of Munja Juana, which has a new functional operating room since March 2018. Thanks to these new infrastructures and high-level equipment, surgeons can now do complex operations, such as those that saved this woman from an extrauterine pregnancy. The hospital also has an obstetric fistula treatment center that has treated 104 cases since the beginning of 2018. Nearly 50,000 women suffered from obstetric fistula in Madagascar. In this health center, 40% of fistula patients are under 16 years of age and 60% are under 20 years of age. Improving access and quality of emergency neonatal obstetric care within the CHRR gives more women the opportunity to give birth with adequate medical assistance on time.
Grâce à l'appui de nos partenaires, avant c'était vraiment difficile de.
Thanks to the support of our partners, because before it was really difficult to take care of this case known to be unpredictable cases for the family. So financially, it is already very difficult. And to come to Ambovombe as catchment area, we have 1 million inhabitants if we count the Androy area, and also the district of Ambosa next to it, and almost a third of the district of Beshuka on the other side.
Des services de cet hôpital et la prise en charge.
So in all, 1 million inhabitants will benefit from the services of this hospital and care center, with the support of partners especially. We had support in 2 stages. First, there was support for regular funds with UNFPA, and we started to take on this kind of operations related to reproductive health, cesarean sections, ectopic pregnancy, complicated abortions. The support is free.
Totalement, la prise en charge est gratuite.
The UNFPA has also equipped the hospital, which serves almost 1 million people, with a model family planning center as part of the establishment of an environment for access to reproductive health services, especially for the most vulnerable population. For those who have had surgery for fistula, the UNFPA provides follow-up training to enable their socio-economic reintegration. Accelerated training in poultry farming, sewing, literacy, and women's health led to the graduation of 27 women post-obstetric fistula or F repair. I had fistulas when I was 15 after a difficult delivery, but fortunately I was able to operate and repair it in April of this year. The training we received here in sewing, poultry, and women's health were very interesting, but today I would like to continue my studies since I'm still young. In order to better protect these vulnerable populations, the city of Ambovombe also has a listening and legal advice center opened by the UNFPA to provide support to victims of gender-based violence. This is the case of this 16-year-old girl. When I became pregnant with this early pregnancy, my child's father disappeared. He is a 35-year-old man who worked at Ambovombe. I heard about this center through awareness. The agents of the center referred me to the hospital where I was taken care of. I was able to do my scans and received a kit of dignity. I left school very young. I do not see how I can go back there. Once I have my child, I think I will have to work with my mother at the market. In order to prevent such cases and to make full use of the potential of the youth who constitute nearly 60% of the population, a youth center was also inaugurated during the celebration of the International Youth Day. In addition to reproductive health awareness, vocational training models will be provided for apprenticeships in trade or for business creation, in addition to sports and music.
Le point aussi important, c'est bien entendu, je viens de le dire.
The other important point is, of course, youth, as I just said, and the demographic dividend. This is the meaning of the Youth House that responds to the Secretary General's call for this year's theme, International Youth Day on Safe Spaces. We were able to implement this Youth House with the support of the Malagasy government and thanks to the determination of the President of the Republic, the Minister of Youth, a house which is simply full of innovations, and we are delighted. Why is it full of innovations? Because young people can have training on entrepreneurship, on vocational training, and also, in addition to playful aspects, digital aspects, this house has a health corner to allow these young people to pay attention to issues related to sexual and reproductive health, because you know that unfortunately limited access to contraceptives is a break for these girls. Too often they are victims of early pregnancy, for 1 out of 2 girls, resulting in school dropout, which means that these young people cannot reach their full potential and become a burden for our society. And that's what keeps the circle of poverty going. And if that's the trend, we'll never be able to meet the Sustainable Fund goals.
Despite these interventions, challenges remain in the region. The town of Sihombe, 60 kilometers from Ambovombe, reflects the health needs of this priority area for the UNFPA as part of its humanitarian component for drought recovery. Its basic health center received support from the establishment of a family planning center to prevent pregnancy and early marriage increases. Prevention activities are also supported by the city's youth space. Young people are starting to come more often because in a month we received almost 178 young people who attend this facility in order to have an injectable method of contraception, and soon we will have in a month at least 10 to 15 young people who will do the implants. When Marie Stoppes arrived, we've noticed that they are very active in using the long-term contraceptive method. Only one doctor-surgeon is available in the city of nearly 10,000 inhabitants. After studying in the capital, this native of the area returned to his locality to try to fill the lack of services and health personnel.
I work a lot here. In theory, I start at 8 a.m. and I take a break between noon and 2 p.m. Sometimes I do not rest until 8 and sometimes even 10 p.m. because I'm the only doctor in the center. It is not an easy job, and on average I have 20 consultations a day. I happen to see even 50 to 60 patients per day sometimes.
Beyond these recovery activities in humanitarian emergencies, UNFPA carries out routine activities to ensure access to quality health services across Madagascar. On the island, 1 out of 2 women gives birth outside health centers. This is not the case of Marceline, who was able to go to Mahasti District Hospital, 32 kilometers from the capital, to give birth, but unfortunately lost her child because of her young age. The 16-year-old girl was the victim of an unwanted early pregnancy. To prevent this from happening again, together with her family, she chose a modern method of contraception at Manhasty Hospital Model Family Planning Center. In addition to this center, the hospital has since 2016 a referral center for the treatment of fistula, with an average of 100 cases treated per year. Ina, a 27-year-old, is slowly regaining her smile after her successful surgery. After suffering from fistula for 2 years, she traveled 600 kilometers to be operated because of lack of adequate health center in her locality in the district of Infanajara. Like her, there are more than 56 women who have had surgery since the beginning of the year in the refurbished hospital equipped by the UNFPA.
Il y a 2 centres spécifiques, centre de prise en charge pour les fistules obstétricales et le
Since
centre
2016,
avec
there's
l'appui
been
de
about
l'UNFPA
300 women who have been cared for, and there has been at least 75% success on the surgeries, and it is important for the family and for the social insertions of these women, and also the care of the hospital with the support of equipment, support in terms of rehabilitation, beds and mattresses, etc. All this helps us a lot to carry out the other activities of the hospitals.
Pour les autres activités de l'hôpital.
In the capital, Antananarivo, where the population has grown from 25,000 to 2.5 million since 1957, UNFPA is also helping to ensure safe deliveries assisted by qualified personnel. In the maternity hospital of Befelatanana, the largest in the country, the recent renovations carried out through the partnership between the Malagasy and Japanese governments with the technical support of the UNFPA make it possible to provide an average of 20 births per day, half of them by cesarean section. 10,000 to 12,000 women give birth each year. Childbirth is one of the hospital's activities, which has operating rooms, resuscitation rooms, family planning, antenatal care, and vaccination services.
The UNFPA, for example, supports us especially to keep our operating rooms, to rehabilitate our operating rooms, and also for our family planning service, prenatal consultation, resuscitation of newborns. The UNFPA has also provided incubators for the resuscitation of babies, respiratory device for the operating room, and as I told you earlier, UNFPA also gave us cesarean section kits, and this is very important because it helps especially the medical staff to facilitate the care and have the necessary equipment. This kind of support from our partners such as UNFPA helps us a lot. Certainly the ministry is here, the government is here, but the support of the partners is just as important.
A vocational training center for women, together with a listening and legal counsel center, are also present in the capital to help empower women. Inaugurated in 2016, the center trains 150 to 200 major women in 6 months in different sectors to allow their insertion into the professional environment. We have 4 training courses. We have the basic sector, namely cutting and sewing and embroidery, computer science, gardening and culinary arts. We also provide a small training in French and English, personal development and simplified management to facilitate our graduates who brings small projects.
L'appel que nous voulons lancer, c'est que d'autres partenaires puissent nous rejoindre.
The appeal we want to launch is that other partners can join us because what you saw in southern Madagascar was made possible by the whole United Nations system with $2 million. And if we are given more, we'll do more and better because already the index of human development has increased. And continuing this momentum with other partners, we can truly transform lives and move resolutely towards the goals of sustainable development. It is our wish to appeal to build a greater partnership with the United Nations system, technical and financial partners, in other words, developed countries.
En d'autres termes, pays développés.
Through the actions, UNFPA aims to achieve 3 transformative outcomes, namely the elimination of preventable maternal death, the elimination of unmet need for family planning, and the elimination of gender-based violence and harmful practices. Prioritized interventions must thus make it possible to obtain greater impact on beneficiaries and to ensure better well-being for women and young people in Madagascar.